So as we can see, there are 20,359 Cardano wallets that have over 100,000 ADA in them. In this video, guys, we're going to be jumping down into the wonderful world of on-chain data for Cardano, along with taking a look at the price action and what has been going on most recently. As I get into the video, if you find it useful and informative, smash that like button. I do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. If you haven't yet joined us at Discord, what you're waiting for, check it out. Link is in the description down below. And today, guys, we are launching our new website for members who can basically come along and take a look at the on-chain data, go through the different date ranges, and review what's been going on with buying and selling of wallet data, what the liquidations are looking like on things like Cardano, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and many more that I'm going to add over the coming months. Why not check it out? Link is in the description below. Let's jump right down into this video, right? So what I'm going to do is going to start by going down to the smaller side of the scale here. We've got data for Cardano that goes from wallets that have 0.001 ADA all the way through to the higher range of 1 million ADA per wallet. This allows us to review how people are stacking ADA, whether they are buying into pumps or they're selling into the pumps, whether they are selling in fear and that's driving price down. It helps us understand the dynamics between whales within the Cardano ecosystem and your regular retail investor inside the ecosystem. Okay, so just on the low side here, we can see that there are 4.4 million wallets that have over 0.001 ADA in them. If we go to the next size up, this is 0.01 ADA, there's 4.4 million. If we go over to 0.1, you can see it's 4.3. And again, these are slightly different date ranges on here because I haven't got all the data aggregated at the point of recording. It's still working its way through. That will update, and it can tell you here that this is the 29th of June, whereas this one here is also the 29th of June. This one's the 30th of June and so forth, right? Moving up to 1 ADA or more, 3.3 million. We can go to the 10th. We can see that there's 3 million that have over 10 ADA in their wallet. Going over to 100 ADA, we can see it's 2.1 million wallets that have over over 100 ADA in their wallet. Over 1,000 ADA sits at 864,000. We can see that we have 10,000 ADA in their wallet is 179,000 people. And we can see 100,000 has the 24,359, with 1 million ADA sitting at 2,776 per ADA per or wallets, containing a 1 million ADA in them. Now, what's really interesting here is you get to see the dynamics between, let's say, the 100,000 and the 10,000 size wallets, right? Or even the 1,000 size wallets. One of the things that you can see just by quickly scaling through these is that they are all accumulating aggressively. Okay, so let me show you. Let's start down at the 100 size. Okay, we can see that wallets in the last 7 days have grown. Okay, so wallets that have over 100 ADA in them has grown 0.29% in the last 7 days. It has grown 1.26% in the last 30 days, 1.95% in the last 90 days, and 6.26% in the last 180 days. But in the last 365, the number of wallets with 100 ADA in them has grown 29.28%. This shows us with a massive amount of accumulation going on for Cardano's ADA. And it's the same story when we start talking about the 1,000 or more per wallet. There's 864,000 of them, and they've grown 32.95% in the last 365 days. Jump into the 10,000 wallet, 10,000 ADA per wallet, you can see this has grown 22.11%. To 100,000 wallets, we can see, or 100,000 ADA in the wallets, we can see that as 4.87% of growth. Okay, and the 1 million size has decreased only 3.78%. Okay, so we can see that there's slight decreases in places, but massive amounts of accumulation going on, and I would argue for the most part at a retail level. Okay, 100,000 ADA, I would say, is probably more your whale level, but 10,000 ADA is probably more retail. Okay, high net worth potential, or kind of bridging in some of that gap anyway. The 1 million ADA is more of like a humpback whale, a really large player, and they are going to, decrease in places and increase in others. So for example, they might be down 3.78% in the last 365 days, but in the last 180 they are up 2.25%, right? And they're up, in the last 7 days, they're up in the last 30 days at 2.13%. So there's definitely accumulation occurring here at pretty much all levels, with the small fluctuations really over a 365-day period. So it's really great to see that this data is obviously available for you guys to review at your leisure and kind of go through it all as and when you kind of please. But it's great to see that there is a fantastic community looking at accumulating Cardano ADA, and they're doing it in pretty large sums, and it's pretty much across the board. We're not seeing pockets of large investors basically dumping on the smaller retail investors. We're seeing actually pretty much accumulation across the entire scope, which is fantastic. So as I said, a link to this is in the description down below if you are looking to become a cheeky crypto member, which I think you should, but that's just my opinion. Join us down in Discord if you're looking for more details on all of that kind of stuff, and a link to this website is in the description below. Let's jump down into the charts, right? Because we did see a bit of a reaction yesterday. We saw the CPI data. We see Gary Gensler really not liking some of the boxes on this form not being filled out quite right, very anal. And spot ETFs and all that kind of stuff. We saw a small pull to the downside. Now, ultimately, this isn't anything too unusual. This is something that we were kind of talking about and expecting to the downside anyway. It is looking more and more likely that we are going to start a move to the downside that is probably a diagonal of sorts. It's hard to say exactly which kind yet, but for the most part, my expectations were that we were tracking a 5-wave move to the downside, and I think that is where we are kind of going to sit with this one. I think we're going to see it. The question becomes whether it is a diagonal structured base move or if it becomes an impulsive one. I don't think it's going to become an impulsive movement, because I think we've kind of got 3 waves coming down here. We kind of have 3 waves coming up, and it's looking like we're probably going to have a 3-wave move to the downside in here as well. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how that plays out. It's possible that this becomes a 335 flat correction that finishes off wave 1, then we'll bounce up and then we'll move down and so forth. So expectations here are that we're going to see a move to the downside for Cardano's ADA, and we're going to see that essentially come down towards our targeted range, which we do have down here at essentially 17.98 cent to 20.37 cent. And of course, during that time period, I would expect more in the way of accumulation to occur. Now, if we jump over to the liquidations tab, in the last 24 hours, we have seen $2.698 million worth of liquidations on Cardano ADA, right? And the exchange with the most amount of liquidations was Binance at $1 million. We can see that 68.68% of liquidations were all long positions, with 31.32% being short positions. We can see that, as I said, Binance is the top lead here. We can see that, but we can also see that OKX is taking second spot as well, not too far behind Binance. And then there's a bit of a gap between Bybit and OKX and so forth. So you can see where the pockets of liquidations were occurring, what kind of state they are. At the moment, it's only 2.69 million. It's not too bad in terms of liquidations there. From an overview point of view, guys, it's also really interesting to see that there's 4.4 million wallets now. Active addresses in the last 24 hours was 65,000 as well. So there's some interesting kind of things to kind of talk about here as well. And what I find the most interesting are the fee structures, where we can see that in the last 24 hours we've paid $8,000 in fees, but yet we had 80,000 transactions. So really just kind of show you some of the scalability, specifically when you compare it to things like Ethereum as well. Some interesting kind of stuff for sure. So yeah, if I come back into our charts here, we can kind of see our expectations are to move this to the downside, where I imagine more accumulation will occur. Now, how do we break out of this structure? Well, for this structure to kind of break, we're going to have to move up quite significantly, and I would say we're probably going to look at one of two areas. The first interesting point is going to be 34.85, and we'd have to see a break above there, and then the other one that I think would basically confirm it comes in anything higher than 37.61. Now obviously we've got Celsius selling off all their altcoin assets in favor of Bitcoin and Ethereum, and so we're going to see, unfortunately, Celsius selling off not just ADA but also other assets like Polygon's Matic, for example, and that will cause some downward pressure. Now there is of course some people that might say, well, if Bitcoin's going to pump then ADA's going to pump. It's not necessarily how it works, right? It's all about the supply and the demand imbalances. We talk about this all the time, and when we have a supply and demand imbalance, we're going to see price reflect that. Okay, if the market is going to be dumping significant holdings on Cardano ADA, then we are going to see, unfortunately, a lot more supply entering the marketplace, which means essentially there's going to have to be a lot more buyers to soak that demand, to soak up that supply. If that demand does not increase, then unfortunately, regardless of what Bitcoin does, ADA will have to go down. And some people have been throwing numbers out there like a 10% reduction in price, right? So it's important that we understand that a move to the downside here is highly likely to occur. We have our zones here. This is just within the structure. We know what we need to do to invalidate it, and I'm not sure there's going to be enough demand here at the current pricing to prevent a move to the downside. Obviously, Bitcoin can run independently of Cardano and other assets. They're not tethered together. Essentially what you've got here and what is going to go on is an imbalance in the supply and demand. If the demand does not increase as the supply increases, then unfortunately downward price action is what we should be expecting. But these are fundamental basics of any market. Supply and demand are the only two things really that matter. Very important that we focus in on them. Okay, so for the most part, my expectations are that we are to move on down, but if we were to move up, we have our targeted ranges to break out of this structure. Moving to the smart money concept side of things, we go to the daily time frame. You can see that we are in a bearish state of play right inside here. That has not changed, so it's important that we reflect in on that as well. Okay, so for the most part, that's kind of where it sits and where it stays at the moment. Some interesting kind of things to come from everything that's going on, but for the most part, I think I'm going to leave the video right there for now. We'll do another update as time progresses over the weekend. We'll see how things are, and I'll let you know if anything has changed. So if you found it useful, smash the like button. If you're new, subscribe. And if you haven't yet joined us in Discord, check it out. Link is in the description below. And if you're looking to become a member and to get access to the wonderful world of on-chain data for Cardano, then why not check out the membership website, also linked in the description below. Until the next one though, guys, have a fantastic day.
We are not financial advisors, and none of what we have communicated verbally or in writing here should be considered as financial advice. It is not. Do your own research before investing in any digital asset or affiliate offers, and understand that investing in any crypto is risky. If you do, you need to be prepared to lose your entire investment. This video is for information and entertainment purposes only. All our videos are strictly personal opinions. Please make sure you do your own research and never take our opinions for financial guidance. There are multiple strategies, and not all strategies fit all people. Our videos are not financial advice.